I don't know how many of you know this. I'm kind of a popcorn fanatic, and I just want to clarify something. In that video, you were in the video. That looked like microwave popcorn. Was that microwave popcorn? No, that's not how we do it here. We don't do microwave popcorn. Stove top or air pop, maybe. Okay. If they serve microwave popcorn in your growth group, you tell me. Okay. I need to know about that stuff. All right. Anyway. You ate microwave popcorn at my house? That's why I'm glad you're in Kansas City now. Okay. Speaking of, our sermon's about being distracted. So, welcome to week number 3 of distraction, distracted. So, distraction is deadly, but focus brings freedom. That's our phrase, right? Distraction is deadly, gets us off track. When we're focused, we experience real freedom. And this whole series is about being able to focus on the Lord like we should. Because we all know, we try to focus on God, we try to do what's right, but we get off track every now and then. Give me a nod if you know what I'm talking about, right? And by every now and then, I mean like every day or two, or every hour or two. One of my favorite holidays is the 4th of July. I love it because we get to blow stuff up, right? That's great. Y'all like that? One 4th of July, about 9 years ago, I was showing my kids how to blow up fireworks. Now, don't judge me. They weren't too big, but I gave my 5-year-old and a 6-year-old a firework to go blow up. They went there and they lit it. And my 2-year-old ran down there, and I actually snapped a picture right as the firework was about to explode. And this is what we got the 5-year-old and the 6-year-old running for their lives, and the 2-year-old's like, "Bring it. What's gonna happen?" You know, like, oh man. Sometimes we don't take things as seriously as we should. Is that right? Sometimes we don't take God as seriously as we should. We get distracted. Oh, I believe God is real. I just don't want to be a Jesus freak. You know, I'm not an extremist, people say. Did you know that God wants you to be an extremist? I don't mean like blowing stuff up type of extremist, but God wants you to be an extremist when we talk about your heart. God wants you to have what's called an undivided heart. Let me show you really quick. This comes from the book of Psalms. This is chapter 86. It says, "Teach me your way, Lord, that I may rely on your faithfulness. Give me an undivided heart that I may fear your name." And this word for heart right here, this has an interesting meaning back in the Hebrew from 3,000 years ago. You can write this down. God wants me to have an undivided heart. Heart back then meant thoughts, feelings, will, and decisions. God wants all of me to put him first. So when God says, "I want you to have an undivided heart," what he's really saying is, I don't want anything to come before me in the way you think. I don't want you thinking nothing before me, nothing ahead of me. I don't want you obsessing about anything more than me. I don't want your feelings to be led astray by things other than me. I don't want your decisions to be made by things that aren't from me. Does that make sense? Undivided heart means undivided focus, undivided attention, undivided feelings, all of it for God. God wants you to be fanatical about him and him alone. Today is important, and you have to listen, because this is about how our hearts aren't always with God and how to get them to be with God. Let's be honest, no matter how much you love God, there are some things that you put ahead of him this last week, aren't there? There are some decisions you made that maybe God wasn't happy with, or maybe you just know you should have treated God higher and better than you did last week. So this today is about how to take those obstacles out of the way. We're gonna fix that problem today. If you listen and apply it, you'll be able to have God first in your life. But if you ignore this, you might actually get kicked out of the family of God. I'm serious. I'll show you in just a minute what I mean. When I went to college, I met a girl named Meadow. She is my wife now, and things have been going well. This was like our freshman or our sophomore year. It was my first week of college when I met her, and I liked her right away. She was unlike anyone I'd ever met in my life. I was just like, who is this girl? Like, what on earth? And we started hanging out and talking and getting together. But there was one problem. She wanted a relationship, and I wanted to go have fun. It was my freshman year of college. I didn't want to be like burdened with a relationship. I was like, even though I am going to marry this girl, I'm not going to do it in the next year or two. I want to go do crazy stuff, be a single guy. And so she wanted me, and I wanted her, but I didn't want a relationship with her. Does that make sense? It was really, you said no. You're like, I've been there. Well, the Meadow had enough too. After about a year or two of me doing that to her, she was like, I'm done with you. And she moved on. She like went on a date with another guy. And I was like, oh, no. all of a sudden, like, I'm starting to feel panicky. Instead of like her as an option, I saw losing her was the option, and I didn't want to lose her. What did I have? I had a divided heart. I wanted her, but I also wanted other stuff. And in reality, in our relationships, we do not tolerate divided hearts, do we? Nope. Neither does God. If you're in a relationship with someone and they're like, I love you, but I also love this other adult just as much. No, we don't have that. That don't work. And if you think it's crazy for God to want your undivided attention, you're doing the same thing. We all do the same thing. That's how hearts should work. And God says, I want all of you, not just part of you. Now, if you're here today and you're not a Christian, you're not following Jesus, you're just kind of checking things out, I'm glad you're here today because you've probably seen Christians and thought to yourself, these people are hypocrites. And today I want you to hear what God thinks about people who claim to be Christians but are hypocrites. I want you to hear it yourself. And today, if you are a follower of Jesus here, and you know that your heart has been divided sometimes, which all of ours has, you need to hear what God says about this. This is Revelation chapter 3. I know your deeds, God says, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you're lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. God says, you got to be hot or you got to be cold. None of this lukewarm nastiness. This was in the book of Revelation written to a church in a town called Laodicea. In this town, Laodicea, they had hot springs. And Jesus, who said this, knew they had hot water and underground aqueducts. And so he uses this analogy because they had these hot springs, great water, but the aqueducts would bring it to the town. By the time it got to the town, it was not clean and hot and fresh. It was lukewarm, foul, and dirty water. And so every day these people had to deal with lukewarm, dirty water. And so Jesus says to them, I don't want you to be lukewarm either. Cold water is good for drinking. Hot water is good for cleaning. Lukewarm water, crap. It's not good for anything. I don't want it, and I don't want you if you're going to be lukewarm. Let's write it down. God isn't interested in lukewarm people. He wants us burning hot with passion or refreshingly cold. He spits out the lukewarm people. He spits out the lukewarm people. No more distractions, friends. To resolve this, we're going to look at one of my favorite people in the Bible. His name is Josiah. I actually named my youngest son's middle name after him because I love this guy in the Bible. See, he was born a little boy. His name was Josiah, as I said, and his family got together at his birth, and they were happy. The mom was crying. I got a baby boy. Oh, he's so beautiful. Look at him. And the dad picked him up. Yeah, this is my boy. Doesn't he look just like me? And the nurse was like, not really. He's like, yes, he does. And he's like, I love this little boy. And it was so amazing. It was like a really beautiful moment, but it was also kind of a sad moment. The dad was 16. He didn't know how to be a parent. And his grandpa actually had been a king, but he had just gotten released from prison. He had been caught in a battle and put in a foreign country in a prison there. They put hooks through his nose. They bound him up. This is a true story. Josiah was born into a messed up family. Anybody here born into a messed up family? His grandpa was a really messed up guy. The king, Josiah's grandpa, said that I follow God. I follow the one true God. But he had two different sons, Josiah's dad and then another son. And one day he takes this other son and he's dragging him to a fire where they worship a false god. And his brother is screaming, no, the king's son, no, don't do this, Dad, don't do this. And the brother, Josiah's dad's going, don't, Dad, please don't. And the grandfather was going, I'm going to. He takes his little boy and he throws him in the pit of fire. The boy starts to burn. He tries to crawl out of the pit. His dad kicks him back into the pit. Then over the screams and shrieks of the boy burning alive, you hear the brother screaming, no, don't do this, Dad, don't do this. But the boy's shriek stopped because there he dies. He's burnt to death on an altar of a false god. That's who the grandpa was. He killed his son to worship a false god. And you would think Josiah's dad would do better because he didn't want to be that person. But Josiah's dad grows up, he does the same types of things. He took over as king and he claimed to worship the one true God, but he worshiped the false gods as well. In fact, the people around him hated him so much, they said, maybe we should kill him. Maybe we should kill him before he kills us. And they talked about how to kill him. And one day at dinner, someone walked up behind him, grabbed his head and hair, pulled his head back, and slit his throat with a knife at the dinner table. And he bled out right there. And then Josiah becomes king at 8 years old. Does it seem like this kid has any chance? His grandpa had a divided heart. His dad had a divided heart. His whole family, the entire nation was distracted, full of idols, full of idolatry, full of sin, no one turning to God. Now he's an 8-year-old king. His dad's dead, and he's never seen a good example in his life. That doesn't look good, does it? But grab your Bible and turn to 2 Chronicles chapter 34. We're about to learn what Josiah did. This is chapter 34. So if you're using one of these Bibles here, page 370. If you got your own Bible, I don't know what page it's on. But once you find that page, there's a big 34. That's the chapter number. Okay? Big number of chapters, little numbers are verses. And we're going to read chapter 34 today, and we're going to read more next week. As we get in here, it says his father David, just so you know. In this part of the Bible, father sometimes means ancestor, okay? So it might say father, but it doesn't mean it's his actual father. It could be his grandfather, or great-great-grandfather, all that sort of stuff. All right, chapter 34, verses 1 and 2. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and followed the ways of his father David, not turning aside to the right or to the left. So Josiah is different. Look at this. Josiah didn't turn to the right or to the left. In other words, he had an undivided heart. He came from a family that was completely hypocritical, lukewarm all the way. They said they served God, but they were distracted their entire life. But here we have Josiah taking over at 8 years old and deciding to do what is right. How did this happen? How does this happen? Maybe you have come from a family full of dysfunction. How do you get right with the Lord? Look at verse 3. In the 8th year of his reign, so how old would he be now? 16, yeah. While he was still young, there you have it in the Bible, 16-year-olds, you're young. Okay, it says it. In the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, he began to seek God of his father David. In his 12th year, so how old is he now? 20? He began to purge Judah and Jerusalem of high places, Asherah poles, and idols. Will you say the word purge? He began to what? Purge. All right, so he's 20 years old. He starts doing this when he's 16. He becomes king when he's 8. Just out of curiosity, a little show of hands here. Who in this room is between the ages of 8 and 20? Who is between the ages of 8 and 20? Okay, this is about you, okay? This is you. He was your age when he became king. He was your age when he decided to do what was right. And he was your age when he started to kick people's butts for not following the Lord, right? No more distraction. Now, who here is over 20? Y'all missed the boat, guys. You should have been doing this a long time ago, but here's what we're going to say today. I should have done this when I was 16, but no matter how old I am right now, I'm going to do it today. Y'all follow me? Right? Should have done this a long time ago, but we're going to do it today no matter how old we are, okay? He started purging the nation of high places is what it says. High places is where people went to worship false gods. There are high places with altars on them. And Josiah said, it's purging time, man. Nation, you have been distracted long enough. It's time to get this out of your system. It's funny because normally like 16 to 20, like that's a huge age of temptation, right? That's when a lot of us made really bad decisions that led us down the wrong path for many years. But Josiah's like, I don't know. I'm not doing that, man. I'm 16. I'm telling you what, I'm going to lead these people in the right direction. I don't care what my friends think. I don't care what my family thinks. I don't care what those 70-year-olds think. What I care about is what the Lord thinks. That's the only thing he cared about. And he started purging. Think about this. They had these Asherah poles and these things for generations. The nation loved them. It's where they worship. How would you feel if someone came and tore down our church? You wouldn't like that, would you? Especially if it was some politician who's a 16-year-old kid. That'd really make us mad, wouldn't it? And he says, I don't care. I only care what God thinks. He killed the distractions. Distraction is deadly. Focus brings freedom. And he knows it. Look at verses 4 to 7. Under his direction, the altars of the Baals were torn down. Think about this. These are altars that real people went to in real life to worship what they thought was a real God. He said, I don't care. He tore them down. He cut to pieces the incense altars that were above them and smashed the Asherah poles and idols. These he broke to pieces and scattered over the graves of those who'd sacrificed to them. He burned the bones of the priests on their altars, so he purged Judah and Jerusalem. in towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simeon, as far as Naphtali, and in the ruins around them. He tore down the altars and the Asherah poles, and crushed the idols to powder, and cut to pieces all the incense altars throughout Israel. Then he went back to Jerusalem. What was he doing? Josiah's goal, you can write this down, purge the problems. Purge the problems. Will you all say that with me? Purge the problems. When I say the word purge, what comes to your mind? What comes to my mind is throwing up. You know, at 2 a.m., when I ate too much spaghetti and I am feeling too good, that's what comes to my mind when I hear the word purge. I done binged, it's time to purge. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not talking like just a little bit. I'm talking like a lot. Get it all out. Because as soon as I get it out, I feel better, right? He purged the evil from the country. Sometimes you got evil inside of you and you don't want to purge. You want to let it work its own way out. I didn't have to do that hand motion, did I? The problem is, you let it work its own way out, it might sit in there forever. It might sit in your life forever. It might stay there. It might never go away. That's why you have to choose to purge, to get it out there. Remember how God said, if you're neither hot nor cold, I'm going to spit you out? You could actually translate that word from the Greek, spit, as purge, vomit. He says, if you're lukewarm, I will vomit you out. Josiah knows this. Josiah knows if I don't purge, God will. If you don't purge, God will. But purging is going to happen one way or the other. And it's kind of gross, but this is the reality. You've got to purge, friends. Listen carefully. We've said this last couple weeks. You are distracted from God because you chose things other than God. I want to be clear about it this week. You are distracted from God because you know what distracts you and you haven't purged it. You have got something in your life, maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 things that you know are distracting you from the Lord right now, and you haven't purged it. You've kept it inside of you. Maybe at times you almost purged it, but then you swallowed that vomit back down inside. Yeah. Ew. We're dealing with things that pull our hearts and minds from God, friends. Things that take our eyes off of Him. It's a spiritual sickness. I want you to listen to the violent way that he purges, okay? You can write this down. What is he? He tore down the altars of Baal. He didn't just remove them. He had them torn down. One of my buddies came up to me after, and he said, he thinks it's interesting that this guy was a king, right? So it's not like he went and did it himself. He ordered these things to be done, so the people who worship there had to tear it down themselves. I think that was interesting. He ordered that they be torn down. He cut to pieces the incense altars. Right? This is interesting because he's not like, can we take those incense altars and repurpose them in the farmhouse? No, he cuts them to pieces. He smashes other altars. He smashed Asherah poles, and Asherah poles were used to worship a powerful fertility goddess, all right? She provided their kids for them. Listen, you're distracted because you know it distracts you, but you haven't killed it yet. He tore down these Asherah poles. If there's one universal truth, I think it's this: you don't mess with someone's kids, right? You just don't mess with someone's kids. What did he do? He was messing with their kids. These people thought, they actually believed if they go to an Asherah pole, then they will get pregnant, they will have children, their children will be blessed. She was the goddess of love. And he didn't care. He went there and he tore it down. This is gonna have consequences for him, isn't it? People are gonna be mad. You're like, you're messing with my kids. You're making it so that I can't have kids anymore. People could riot. He didn't care. People could hate him. He didn't care. They had assassinated his dad. He didn't care. He was choosing God above everyone and everything else. He was purging anything that distracted him. Don't be distracted. Josiah says, I don't care if you think you get your beloved children from her. She has got to go. I don't care if it's love. It has got to go. There's only one person who gets our attention. That's the Lord God. Listen, you're distracted because you know it distracts you and you haven't purged it. You've got to purge the problems. This isn't like some little cough up phlegm like, you know, it's not like, that's not what this is, right? This is full-on heaving projectile vomit. In fact, one of these like, blah, where it's like just all over, and you're like, I'm gonna have to come back when I'm well and clean that up, you know? In fact, one of these Asherah poles were actually inside God's own temple. Smashing that one wasn't enough for Josiah. It had gotten too far from God. You know what he did? So he took the Asherah pole from the temple of the Lord to the Kidron Valley outside Jerusalem. He's like, this one's going outside of town. And he burned it there. He ground it into powder and scattered the dust over the graves of common people. So he found graves. Jewish people didn't like to go to the graves. It was considered unclean. And so he took this pole outside of the town, ground it down to powder so it could never be brought back again, and then scattered it on the most unclean thing he could think so no one would even go near it again. That's the mindset he had. Let's keep writing these things down. What else did he tears down the homes of shrine prostitutes? Their homes. They're like, you're going to tear our homes down? He's like, well, you shouldn't have been doing this stuff. I'm knocking your home down. He burned the bones of the false priests. These are people who worship the wrong God. And even though he shouldn't touch dead bones, people shouldn't touch dead bones, they brought up these dead bones just so they could burn them and shatter them to dust. That's how much he hated this crap. And then he desecrated in areas that were used for sacrificing children. I don't even want to give you a visual example of desecration, but it ain't good. Desecration is what happens when you make something so that you can't use that area anymore for sacrifices because it's considered spiritually unclean forever. He burned, the next one, he burned perfectly good chariots because they were dedicated to a false god. Right? People would say, oh, these chariots are good. We can just, take the evil symbols off them and reuse them. He said, no, we're going to burn it. I won't be done. He didn't even stop at his borders. He kept going beyond Judah. Judah was his nation, but he went beyond Judah. Did you see this? Maybe you saw it in verse 5-7. It says this, 6-7. In the towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simeon, as far as Naphtali, and in the ruins of them, he tore down the altars of the Asherah poles, crushed the idols to powder, cut to pieces the incense altars all throughout Israel, and then went back to Jerusalem. All throughout where? All throughout Israel. Throughout the towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, those weren't his towns. That was not his property. He went to the neighboring country in other people's towns and destroyed their idols too, and then he went back to home, Jerusalem. That's how passionate. This is like going to your neighbor's house and being like, I smell microwave popcorn. Give me that microwave. Boom! We ain't having that. You're gonna live in my neighborhood, right? Like, that's like crazy stuff, right? But he didn't care because he said, anything that distracts me from God, it's going down. Now, this may seem strange, like, why would God want us to do this? It's violent. Isn't Jesus like about peace? You have to get from this that nothing was too important or too sacred if it distracted him from God. There is nothing in your life too important, too sacred, too loved. If it distracts you from God, it has to go. I want you to imagine you're mountain climbing. You're with a buddy. You're climbing up, and I don't know a lot about mountain climbing. Maybe I get this wrong, but you'll get the idea, right? You're climbing up, and as you climb up, you feel the rope behind you, your buddy, getting really tight, and you look down, and you're like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm admiring the scenery. Click, click, taking pictures, and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, dude, I can't hold on longer. Get up here. And he's like, oh, okay. And he starts coming up, and like you're climbing a little more, and then all of a sudden, boom, he slips and he falls. And you're like, I got it. I got you. I saved you. And you look down, and he's playing Candy Crush. He's like, woo, thanks. Like, bro, don't do that. Like, finally, like he climbs up by you, and he's got one hand on the rope, and he's got one hand on the phone. You're like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm texting my mom. I want some dinner. You're going to grab that phone, and what are you going to do with it? Yeah, phone. Never gonna see that phone again. Why? Would that be considered worth it to throw the phone? Yeah, because it's a life or death game, right? Putting your intention on the Lord is more than a life or death game. It's eternal life or death. And whatever you got to destroy, a phone, a job, a relationship, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's gonna be messy, but it's worth it. So here's the first step you got to take today. Step 1 to killing distractions, you just got to have this mindset. If it distracts me from God, it has to die. And maybe you want to write on there mentality, all right? Because this is mentality. There we go. All right, this is the mentality that you need to create. Because when you think this way, you live differently. If you think, you know what, it's not good, but I'll try to do better next time, that little sickness is going to live inside your body, isn't it? It's going to live inside your mind. But if you think differently, if you think, if this distracts me from God, it has to die, it has to be ground to powder, then you're going to live differently. You need the mentality that things that distract you from God, you're distracted from God because you know it distracts you and you haven't purged it yet. That's why you're distracted. Those things have to die. We believe in untamed mercy here at our church, like just a wild, passionate forgiveness. We all have sin. This sermon isn't to make you feel guilty, to make you feel shame. This isn't about me judging you. This is about you recognizing things in you that keep you from the Lord, right? That's all it is. You recognizing things in you that keep you from the Lord. In fact, there's really good news. God wants to forgive you for those distractions that got you off track. The scriptures say that Jesus came to earth. He went to the cross. He died on the cross for your sin so that he was punished instead of you being punished. And if you believe that Jesus did that he lived, died, and rose from the dead, and you commit to follow him, you'll be saved. That's it. But friends, once you're saved, no more eating vomit. You got to spew that stuff. You got to get it out. You can't keep it in you. And purging is not about being the perfect robot. It's not like, I will never mess up again. No, it's about going back to the bathroom every single time you got something sick inside of you. You know what I mean? It's about, man, I thought I had this sin fixed, but I guess I didn't. I guess it got me in a new way I didn't expect. So I got to fix that one. You know, if I used to steal and I robbed banks, like, okay, I got to purge that. I'm never going to do it again. I got to confess it. I got to fix it. So then I find myself shoplifting. Oh my gosh, it got back in me. What the? I got to purge that one too. This is sometimes a repetitive process. You on track with me, everybody? Right? You just got to do it again. But you have to have this mentality. All right, you got to have this mentality. God doesn't want hypocrites. Here's step 2. Following the pattern of Josiah, what do I need to destroy? What is it? Okay, what evil do I need to get rid of? What distraction should be destroyed? What needs to be purged? You got to name it. Remember that relationship with Meta that I had? In our relationship, we do not tolerate divided hearts. Neither does God. Some of you may be in a relationship with someone who isn't a Christian. You need to burn that relationship. It's unbiblical. Unless you're already married, then you need to stick with it and figure it out. You need to purge the problem. Some of you are dealing with pornography and you can't gain control over it. Maybe you need to destroy your phone. Maybe you just need a filter on your phone. Maybe you need somebody who can keep you accountable. Maybe you are reading inappropriate novels that distract you from the Lord or cause you to sin. Purge the problem. Maybe you're distracted from God because you are in a group of friends who gossip all the time, and it's hard not to gossip when you're with them. You got to purge the problem. You're distracted from God because you know what distracts you, and you haven't killed it yet. You got to kill these things. Someone actually texted in and said, what if our kids are the distraction? Murder? Jeez. Okay. I got 6 kids, so I know what I'm talking about when I say this. If you think your kids are the distraction, you're wrong. The distraction that keeps you away from the Lord is what you expect from your kids and how you handle your kids, right? I think I should be able to get up at 7 in the morning and do my devotions in peace and quiet. I got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. You know very well you can't get up at 7 in the morning at peace and quiet. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's your expectation of those children that messes your relationship with God up, right? It's not the kids. The kids are going to do what kids do. What do kids do? They make messes. They are loud. They will wake you up. They will make you mad. They will disobey you. They will challenge you. That's their job description. Your job description is to find out how to have a relationship with the Lord in the midst of the chaos, okay? All right. And by the way, I think I should just clarify. I'm not literally talking about like, you don't literally kill people, okay? If like you go home and you're like, you're a problem, pastor said I have to kill you, right? Like I'm not talking about a person or a place, right? I'm talking about the relationship you have to that person needs to die, not them, right? The relationship you have to that place needs to die, not them, okay? Just wanted to clarify based on that question. So if it's distracting you from the Lord, you might need a filter on your phone or something like that. Maybe at the end of the day, you just need to realize that you're distracted from God because it distracts you and you haven't killed it. You've allowed it to live in your house for far too long. Maybe there's something that makes you miss church regularly. What is that? It needs to die. Maybe there's a group of friends that get you to drink or get you to use when you shouldn't be and you know it, and that needs to die. We're just saying, at the end of the day, purge the problem. Distraction is deadly. Focus brings freedom. Let's say it together. Purge the problem. Distraction is deadly. Focus brings freedom. Don't be like the people who think, I can still believe in God and still do this other stuff and God will be fine with it. No, God doesn't tolerate lukewarm. We don't want divided hearts. We need to get rid of anything that distracts us. I want God, when he looks at me, to be like, oh, Jeff Peepo? Yes, Jeff Peepo. Oh, that dude did a lot of messed up stuff, but every time he purged and kept following me. He's got an undivided heart. Even though he gets distracted, he gets back on track. He really wants me. That's what I want God to say about me. Is that what you want God to say about you? Yes. You've got to do some purging. Remember a memory verse? This is about two ladies, Martha and Mary, okay? At one point, Jesus came to their house. And Mary would just want to sit and listen to Jesus, but Martha was like doing dishes and cooking the food and wanted to impress people. And Martha said, Jesus, tell Mary to help me. And Jesus says, no, listen to what Jesus says. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed, only one. Mary has chosen what's better and will not be taken from her. Let's say this out loud together. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered. You are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Jesus says she picked well. Mary's focused, so she gets freedom. Martha is doing cooking and cleaning. What does Martha need to do? I'm going to stop the cooking. I'm going to stop the cleaning. I'm going to stop worrying what people think about me, and I'm just going to choose Jesus. You're distracted from God because you know it distracts you and you haven't killed it. What we're going to do right now is we got some note cards around here. You got it? You know where those are? All right. I forgot where I put them. So Kevin knows, though. All right, they're there. So he's going to hand out some note cards. And Sean got some here, too. And we're going to put down your distraction on this note card. Now, I don't want you to write your name on it. Don't write your name on it, but write down what distracts you from the Lord, because I'm sure you got something in mind, maybe a number of things. You choose the things that distract you, and sometimes you choose to feed them instead of killing them. You know what I'm talking about? You pursue that relationship that distracts you from God instead of killing it. You embrace that little thing that stops you from reading the Bible, watching TV, eating, checking your phone. Destroy them. Do whatever you have to do to get rid of those things. It's that simple. Distraction is deadly. Focus brings freedom. You should choose to learn how to sit at the feet of Jesus instead of allowing these distractions in your life. What did Josiah do? See, you're writing down distractions. What did Josiah do to these distractions? He cut them to pieces. He tore them down, smashed them, burned them, desecrated them. You want one mind, one heart on God, nothing in the way. Because what happens when things get in the way? Jesus says, I know your deeds. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. I'm about to purge you out of my mouth. That's what Jesus says to us. We don't want that. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is, if you know what your distraction is and you're ready to get rid of it, I want you, a lot of places I've been, they've taken like their sin and they've like burned it or whatever, but the Bible doesn't talk about like burning for forgiveness. It really talks about purging. So I'm going to invite you to come up here and just throw it in the trash, in the toilet, to symbolize purging it. And if I'm not going to read them, so just don't put your name on it, and whenever you're ready, come up here and just throw it in. If you're watching online, you can go to a toilet in your house and throw it in there, flush it. But don't call me if you get a plumber problem, okay? I know that this was just symbolic. You can keep coming, that's right. I know that this was symbolic, right? When you go home, then the real purging begins, right? I really wish we had growth groups this week, because this would be a perfect week to be able to say to some people, I'm distracted in this area, and I really need some people to ask me how I'm doing next week. Maybe in a couple weeks you can tell people when we have our growth groups. But yeah, I really do wish we had groups this week. But you do need to purge the problem. And remember, I had a divided heart when it came to Meadow. I didn't want to date her. Then she left. I was really freaking out. I decided I did want her. I didn't want to have an undivided heart anymore. So I wrote a song about her. And then I invited her out to the lake. I made a campfire. We were sitting there under the stars. And I pulled out my guitar and I said, I have a song about you. And I started playing it. It was like this, you are beautiful. It's like this whole song. And she's like, oh, I sang it to her. And at the end, I explained, like, I love you. I want to be in a relationship with you. Will you be in a relationship? She's like, yes, thank you so much. And I asked her quite a while later, like, hey, remember when I sang that song for you? How did it feel? And she said it felt awkward. Look, there's gonna be some awkwardness when you try to conquer your undivided heart, right? There's gonna be some awkwardness. Some of you are gonna have to go through some pain. If you're purging a bad relationship, it's gonna be hurtful, isn't it? If you're purging an addiction, it's gonna be so hard to fix that problem. Whatever you're purging, yeah, come on up, go ahead and purge it. Whatever you're trying to purge, pain comes with the purge. It don't feel good to vomit in the middle of vomiting, does it? But you do it because you know it will make you healthy. It will be worth it at the end. So don't give up. Purge the problem and pursue the Lord. Let me pray for y'all right now. Father in heaven, I just pray in Jesus' name that you will be with everyone here who knows what they need to get rid of, who knows the distraction. And I pray that you'll help them to conquer it this week. In the name of Jesus, amen. Go purge your problem and join a growth group too.